Hello, assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the Ham Second podcast. मैं फाइज गिलानी और मेरे साथ फिर से सफा बेग है. And this time we're going to talk about something that's actually pretty close to my not heart, lungs. Lahore में air pollution. So सबसे पहले बात ये है कि आपने नोटिस किया होगा कुछ दिन पहले मोहसिन नकवी साहब ने टीवी पे आके कहा कि लाहौर को अगर ठीक करना है तो थोड़े दिन की छुट्टी चाहिए. So on a with an abrupt decision, the government decided कि schools को बंद करना है 3 दिनों के लिए. Offices were also told कि आपने इस timings पे operate करने. Even banks had holidays. So with that being said, we need to start asking ourselves कि क्या जब भी smog आएगी क्या हमें ये चीजें बंद करके ही इसको ठीक करना होगा? Are we looking at this closure as a permanent solution to the smog problem in itself? क्या हम बेबस हैं smog को counter करने के लिए and rely on closure in order to solve the situation? With that being said, that's our main topic for today. Is this solution a viable and sustainable solution for the time that is to come? Or क्या हम इसी पे rely करेंगे or we would actually take steps in order to counter the problem that's actually the surfacing? So सबसे पहले आपको थोड़े से बताते हैं facts. So 5 cities of Punjab rank among top 50 most polluted cities of the world, and that status from 2020. I'm not too sure बढ़ गया या नहीं. और हमारा सिचुएशन ये कि हम इस तरह के डायलेमास को ना बहुत उस नॉन सीरियस तरीके से लेते हैं. In 2019, Minister of Climate Change simply called smog in the AQI as misinformation. और उसके अलावा हमारे पास AQI measure करते भी नहीं थे पहले.
Misinformation and propaganda against Pakistan.
Oh yes.
To
Let's
make us
not
look
forget.
bad.
Let's not forget. हम सबसे पहले
First of all, it's misinformation, it's propaganda against Pakistan, and thirdly, it's India's fault.
Yeah, that's the thing. किसी भी चीज में इंडिया डाल दो नेशन रेल अप हो जाएगी and they'll forget कि हमारा अपना कितना कसूर है. So accusing India is like a solution to avoiding the dilemma in itself कि हम इसको किस तरह ठीक कर सकते हैं. And you know, it's not just India.
But how do they blame India? Like they say कि farmers की हम पहली बात तो वो गरीब बंदे को पहले अटैक करते हैं कि ओ farmers अपना ये जो crop stubble है वो burn कर रहे हैं उसकी वजह से हमारी pollution बहुत बुरी हो जाती है. And then they say कि India में the farmers do it 5 times more और हवा की direction इस तरफ ले आती है smog को, and then we can't really do anything about it, so it's kind of something we have to suffer with, which is not
And an interesting
again,
thing is कि जो हवा का करंट होता है that's not for sure कि हमेशा पाकिस्तान में है. उनका दिल्ली में भी जाती है, दिल्ली में भी स्मॉग आती है, and India is actually trying to reduce their carbon emissions and they've done so many things. उन्होंने
yeah, Delhi
electrification
is
शुरू
one of
की है.
the highest ranked cities in this
Yeah.
ये जो AQI की हम बात कर रहे हैं जिसमें लाहौर हमेशा number 1 होता है. तो Delhi is doing some really important changes in their transport infrastructure. वो हम सारी बाद में बात करेंगे.
Yeah.
But they're taking active steps and we are not even on the same page.
हाँ, और इससे so the first question that someone like me would have is कि हमेशा विंटर में क्यों स्मॉग आती है? ये क्या पोल्यूशन सिर्फ विंटर में आती है? बाकी पूरा साल का लाहौर साफ रहता है? Well, the answer is कि there is some science behind it. So जब temperature inversion होता है when it comes to winter, जब ठंड हो जाती है, the pollutants that actually end up, they end up being not harmless. So इस तरह ऊपर engulf नहीं करते due to the inversion of temperature. वो इसमें trap हो जाते हैं and they, it engulfs the whole city in itself other than
because जब temperature higher होता है, like the air rises and because of that pollutants are not trapped within the surface like they are during these months. तो इसलिए हमारा ये जो हम कहते हैं ना smog is the 5th season of Lahore. So it's one of the reasons is temperature. Temperature doesn't cause smog, but it just
it's a natural thing. हर किसी को ये करना हो face करना पड़ता है.
It just worsens what we have created.
Yeah. So हमने एक basic आपको outline दी थी. Now it's time to dive deeper into the root causes of pollution in itself. सबसे पहला तो हमारा आता है.
First of all, why is smog so bad? Like let's थोड़ा सा discuss that. कि obviously हमें पता है कि लोगों के health issues, and we all know that कि health issues बहुत trigger होते हैं. We know कि mental health बहुत ज़्यादा affect होती है, which is not something talked about that much.
Yeah.
But everyone knows वो जो एक सर दर्द होती है, वो एक weird सी fogginess होती है, एक cognitive function आपका decrease होता है, depression होता है. Imagine living in a city like जब हम बात करते हैं ना कि basic human rights क्या होने चाहिए कि ओ अच्छा access to education, access to food, access to shelter. Imagine not being able to breathe the air around you. Like that is the most fundamental thing.
And Pakistan
and it's a city of like क्या 15 million अगर हम like अभी currently unofficial भी थोड़ा सा देखें like population I think 15 million है. And imagine such a massive city, 15 million almost log not being able to
And it's not
breathe.
just Lahore, it's most of Punjab. मतलब बाकी भी जो पहले
Most of
mention किए,
Punjab.
5 out of the top
Lahore is a
50 are
mega city
Punjab.
ना, इसमें like
हाँ.
सारी like बहुत सारी investment जाती है, पैसा बड़ा आता है. Like where is it? Like if you're not making the city more livable for its people, what is the point? And the thing is, we have to थोड़ा सा change the way we perceive cities. Right? हम सोचते हैं कि अच्छा शहर है तो roads होती हैं इसमें और ये बड़ी modern, this is the way that cities advance or like modern era में ये होता है. This is not true. Cities are supposed to be a place where people are able to live quality lives. And
Yeah.
Lahore is not doing that at all.
अच्छा, और सफा ने भी
सबसे
mention
ज्यादा
किया
affect
about, you can
go
talk.
ahead.
And Safa mentioned all of these issues, और हमें एक चीज याद करनी पड़ी जब हम हेल्थ की बात करते हैं. लाहौर already has an overburdened medical health system. It is already, we have less resources and more people that need to be catered to. और एकदम से ये जो
Also,
smog की
like
वजह
a
से,
गरीब बंदा cannot afford like ये
yeah,
डॉक्टर के पास जाना हल्का सा उनको like बीमारी हो जाए. Like the most affected person is the गरीब बंदा. वो
yeah.
जाके क्यों डॉक्टर के पास 5,000 6,000 देगा? They're gonna keep getting sicker and sicker and sicker because they can't afford going to the doctor. Just
And when
because
we
they
saw
can't
the
breathe again.
stats of how many people are actually affected by smog in terms of healthcare, I couldn't believe them. And generally, they're so bad. Or considering Lahore ki situation or underutilization वगैरह, so it's a very big dilemma that we need to address if we have to, see this whole situation. So you have
और
some.
हमारी mortality rate भी बहुत ज्यादा affect होती है. Like
हाँ,
we
हाँ.
have hundreds and thousands of Pakistanis that die every single year because of purely smog. I think हमारी life expectancy से 4 साल almost around 3.9 था, ये पता नहीं क्या था, but around 4 years are cut off because of air pollution.
Yeah. तो पहले तो हमने बात की इंडस्ट्रियल पोल्यूशन की, फिर उसके बाद बर्निंग ऑफ वेस्ट स्लैश क्रॉप्स होता है, फिर ब्रिकलेंस की भी लोग बात करते हैं कि ये इनकी वजह से हमारे स्मॉग होती है, फिर फॉसिल फ्यूल पावर प्लांट्स, ये सब कुछ, और एंड में आता है व्हीकल एमिशंस के बारे में. सो हम जब फॉसिल फ्यूल्स और पावर प्लांट्स की बात करते हैं तो आई थिंक सिंस लाहौर में जब पाक चाइना एग्रीमेंट्स हुए थे और बेल्ट एंड रोड एग्रीमेंट के वजह से पाकिस्तान में काफी कोल पावर्ड पावर स्टेशंस होते हैं, एंड दैट्स समथिंग दैट इवन चाइना यूज्ड टू डू. उनके भी बहुत कोल पावर पे डिपेंडेंसी है. पाकिस्तान में साहिवाल में भी कोल पावर स्टेशन बना है. However, China has backed off from its commitments globally from coal powered stations because उन्हें भी एहसास हो गया है कि कोल पावर जो जनरेशन है दैट हैज अ वेरी बिग कार्बन फुटप्रिंट, जिसकी वजह से जो है कार्बन एमिशंस इंक्रीज होती हैं और ये स्मॉग एयर पोल्यूशन बढ़ती है. And China itself used to face so many issues related to air quality. Should we talk about
China
it
is
right now या
taking
फिर
the
बाद में
lead.
बता दें?
हाँ, ये we'll discuss this. Like in China, obviously because of the way it has grown economically so much, and it was a massive, obviously, अभी भी currently manufacturer है of the world. Air pollution was horrible in China. और जब Beijing Olympics हुए थे, ये बड़ी बात हुई थी कि ये मसला है smog और air pollution का. But China is taking the lead in dealing with air pollution, and it has actually improved a lot. Beijing is a great example. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But that's where they are.
And even if you look at Lahore, आप लाहौर कुछ साल पहले से गुजरे, इवन इस्लामाबाद में भी आप देख लें तो ट्री कवर जो है इन सिटीज में ये रिड्यूस होता जा रहा है डे बाय डे, एंड वी डोंट रियली केटर के यार अच्छा ही जा रहा है. एंड आज सफा अर्लियर मेंशन हम वो विजिबल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे इतने के रोड बन गई, अंडरपास बन गए, फ्लाईओवर बन गए, that we tend
There is
to
a
ignore
weird
it.
obsession with Pakistanis, especially those in authorities, to make these roads and पता नहीं हर किस्म का infrastructure that is solving no one's problems. It's only creating more, and people are not vocal enough about it.
हाँ, और उसके अलावा राइजिंग कार्स आप नोटिस करें पाकिस्तान की सड़कें भरी हुई गाड़ियों से. एंड हम कहते हैं कि तरक्की हो रही है और इससे बेहतर हो रहा है. It's if you look at the past and other countries, it has been a thing. Urbanization, industrialization has been linked with a negative impact on environment and air pollution actually rising. तो इसमें हमारे पास काफी एग्जांपल्स हैं. आप अमेरिका देख लें, उनमें भी 1950s में एयर पोल्यूशन वाज अ थिंग. आप ग्रेट ब्रिटेन देख लें, उधर भी लंदन में बहुत एयर पोल्यूशन थी व्हेन दे वर गोइंग थ्रू द एज ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन. सो व्हाट एक्चुअली हैपेंस इज जब इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन और अर्बनाइजेशन होती है, आपकी वेल्थ इंक्रीज होती है फॉर इंडिविजुअल्स. When wealth increases, what happens is आपके पास excessive money आता है, you end up buying cars, you end up making bigger houses, and you expect more infrastructure, more factories. और उससे क्या होता है, since you aren't really aware of the environmental impact that you're going to end up having, तो होता ही है कि हम बहुत ज्यादा उस पे ना इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अर्बनाइजेशन स्प्रॉल होती है, and you don't even realize it, but sooner or later air pollution becomes a thing, and it becomes a big menace for most countries as well. So बहुत से countries हैं जिनको urbanization के through air pollution के problems face करने पड़ते हैं, and South Asia is currently facing it because Pakistan and India, it's going through the age of urbanization, and it's a developing country. India, people do argue whether it's a developing or a developed, but that's a separate thing. But उधर भी industrialization वगैरह हो रही है, and it's a thing. And it's a thing that's been continuously happening. तो उस पे बात करते हैं. Safa, you want to jump on to China?
When we talk about the mega cities that you just mentioned, so a lot of them, like you said, they were facing air pollution issues. And actually, अगर आप दुनिया में देखो तो ज़्यादातर जो mega cities in the world, they don't have quality air to breathe in. ज़्यादातर, especially पहले. लेकिन over time, when we look at New York and we look at Seoul, Korea में, या वरना we look at Beijing, they have actually improved their air quality over time, even though they're economically making progress, वो उनका सारा जा रहा है, लेकिन because they have realized how bad air pollution is and how bad the way that they're using energy and emissions जो वो cause कर रहे हैं, how bad that is, they've actually been able to reverse it. तो उनकी air pollution actually over time कम हो रही है. तो बीजिंग इज अ ग्रेट एग्जाम्पल. जैसे हमने ओलंपिक्स में बात की कि ओलंपिक्स में भी बड़ा मसला बना था कि ये स्मॉग वगैरह का. तो बीजिंग हैज ओवर टाइम इंट्रोड्यूस दीज वेरियस मैकेनिज्म्स ऑफ जैसे उन्होंने बीच में आर्टिफिशियल रेन भी ट्राई की थी, उन्होंने एक एयर क्वालिटी मॉनिटरिंग सिस्टम उन्होंने इंट्रोड्यूस कराया. सो व्हाट मेड देम सुपर सक्सेसफुल वाज उन्होंने इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स और ये सारी चीज़ उन्होंने इंट्रोड्यूस की. लेकिन व्हाट मेड इट सक्सेसफुल वाज कि एक तो द गवर्नमेंट टुक कंट्रोल. ठीक है, दे इंट्रोड्यूस दिस सिस्टम, they implemented all of these things, and they made sure that public participation plays a huge role. So people started taking part in this. So people started like advocating for electric vehicles as well. They started choosing using the bicycle instead of going for cars. एक monitoring system उनका बहुत अच्छा था. हम monitoring system की बात कर रहे हैं.
I think we should talk
पंजाब
about it. I think we should talk about Pakistan monitoring system first. That's something that you're very passionate about.
it's insane because Punjab ka jo I like whatever authority is in charge of collecting the data for air quality, I don't remember the name, लेकिन they only have ये मैंने 2 साल पहले की रिपोर्ट, I don't know if it's increased, लेकिन 5 सिर्फ air quality monitors हैं in a massive city like Lahore. Like आपके almost 15 million लोग हैं and you have only 5 quality air monitors. So that is totally insufficient. और ये IQ Air वगैरह ने like point out भी किया कि we are not getting support from the government to actually be able to monitor कि कितनी बुरी air quality है लाहौर में. So it's actually probably even worse than we know. So there is this initiative by this guy called Abid Umar, and I think it's super cool that people are taking some lead in this, and we need to highlight these initiatives more. So there is a guy called Abid Umar, and he has this community-driven initiative called PAQI, PAQI, Pakistan Air Quality Initiative, कुछ ऐसा नाम है उसका. So they themselves have installed these 50 plus monitors, और वो फिर IQ Air जहाँ से हमें AQI वगैरह पता चलता है, they're feeding the data into that. So it's not even thanks to the government that we're collecting data. There are community-driven initiatives in Pakistan like Abid Umar ka that are actually helping us understand how bad the air quality monitor is. So one thing जब हम बात करेंगे कि how do we deal with this is कि we need to start collecting more data and we need to monitor these things more. अभी हमारे पास data collection नहीं है. And when we talk about standards, कि
I want to
WHO
jump on that. So it's very interesting. There are international standards, and you need to comply to them. So जब AQI की बात होती है, it's like 100 is dangerous and 300 is hazardous. So Pakistan is like, no, wait.
100 is unsafe.
Yeah. No,
and
it's
300
dangerous.
is
It's dangerous.
hazardous. It's dangerous.
It's
Oh my
dangerous.
god. Okay.
So
अच्छा.
100 is dangerous, 300 is hazardous. ठीक है. और मजे की बात है, पाकिस्तान no wait. हम ज्यादा रेजिस्टेंस वाले हैं, हम आपको बताते हैं कि क्या हमने करना है. So this change that 100 to 200 and that 300 to 400. मुफ्त के 100 बढ़ाए हैं. They like
Exactly.
ये parameter
Pakistan
करते
का
हैं.
जो official standard है, that's actually different from the world standard, and Pakistan has actually been criticized quite a lot कि ये कौन से standards आप लोग use कर रहे हैं भाई, like क्या मतलब.
my time at WWF, they pointed out the same issue with water quality as well. They're like, this is the standard for internationally, and Pakistan was like, oh, nahi, hum ye nahi kar sakte, ye hamara standard hoga.
So basically, we have our own standards, which the world is like are not really even valid. Secondly, we don't even collect enough data to actually understand कि हम कौन सा standard meet कर रहे हैं. And thirdly, when we do get the data, we're like, नहीं, it's propaganda against us. So this is kind of where we are right now.
और हम भी जब रिसर्च करे थे तो हमारे रिसर्च में भी गैप्स ये आते थे दैट यू नो दे टुक इनिशिएटिव दिस हैपेंड बट वेयर इज द डेटा यू कैन नॉट यू नो have you don't have concrete evidence to see that did this actually lead to benefit or not, because we did come across initiatives that actually try to improve the situation but we don't see any difference in air quality because itna data hai hi nahi. I think let's go back towards our global cities as well. तो जहाँ तक बात करते हैं पहले मैंने मेंशन किया था लंदन का भी कि लंदन की भी एयर क्वालिटी बहुत खराब हो गई थी. सो लंदन डिड अ थिंग कॉल्ड अ कंजेशन चार्ज. So congestion charge is like जब आप लंदन एंटर हो तो every car that enters it, they have to pay a sum for entering and using the roads over there. और उससे क्या होता था लंदन saw a fall in their air pollution और उससे congestion भी कम हुई थी. And this is something that's actually pretty successful. And you know ये सिर्फ ये नहीं कि लंदन में it's been implemented across many cities and even now the concrete jungle which is known as New York City, even they're considering congestion charges. And you know for
New York City, even though it was like जैसे concrete jungle, like एक गाना भी है इसके बारे में, तो like New York City, which was on this trajectory of worsening air pollution, उन्होंने I think पिछले especially 2 decades में they have consistently been showing an improvement in air quality, and one of the reasons for that is things like you know taking initiative in the congestion charge or not doing this क्या बोलते हैं pedestrianize उन्होंने कर दिया. Times Square is a really great example of how they brought about an urban revolution.
And let's
so we need to
forget
start
Central Park as well. They have a big
green cover as well जो हमारे पास बिल्कुल भी नहीं है.
हाँ.
यहाँ जो होती हैं we don't even
and
maintain.
Safa earlier mentioned Seoul. तो Seoul में ये भी होता है कि we talked about industrial waste as well. So they have 5G enabled autonomous robots that actually scan industrial waste, and they're like ये सही है ये गलत है. You know this regularization and you know a constant check and balance इसके through ये सारा पता होता है उनको कि हमने ये इस इंडस्ट्री को ट्राई करना ये इनका वेस्ट है, and that's how we're gonna go. When we talk about such initiatives, I think we should talk about Bogota as well. I think that's something that you're very passionate about, cycling and the
I love
progress. Huh?
Like I love Bogota's case study.
एक दिन
So
हमें
super
Bogota जाना है. तो Bogota में ये होता है कि it's one of the most congested cities of the world, but how they over the past few years उन्होंने काफी initiatives लिए that have actually tried to you know improve the whole situation. So पहले Bogota में एक policy थी of alternate number plates. So on one day odd number आएंगे, one day even number आएंगे. So that was you know intended to reduce the congestion in itself. However, that did not get the results that they wanted, because firstly आप लोगों से उनका right to actually go around ले रहे हो, क्योंकि if you have an out and out ban, something that even Pakistan needs to be aware of. And secondly, it is not a solution for you know actually reducing congestion. It's not feasible at all. So what they did is कि उन्होंने smart city policies introduce कराई. So in a smart city process, they collected all of the data that they could find from traffic lights and you know use that data to come up with better traffic plans. Similarly, their mayor came up with a project of electrified metro transport across the city. 80 kilometers add हो चुका है. That transports way too many people across the city और उससे improvement होती है. And public transport का जितना हम stress करें ना उतना कम है. And lastly, they have a thing for cycling, जिसकी वजह से it became the cycling capital of Latin America. तो जब हम बात करते हैं about infrastructure in Pakistan में you see roads all around but you don't see cycling lanes anyway. So with that being said, people need to realize
even the public transport that we do have is not being used as optimally as it can. It doesn't have enough feeder routes. People cannot access it as enough. Like हमें ज़्यादा एक multimodal way of using transport introduce करना होगा within the existing system. इसमें कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है कि हम कोई सारा structure change करते हैं. It's about using what you have better so people actually use it in a more efficient way.
Yeah. तो यही बात करते हैं. And you know cycling even if you look in Pakistan, you don't really see cyclists around it. But if you go abroad, मतलब London में भी इतनी है, फिर बगोटा में literally equivalent to the population of Islamabad, इतने लोग एक दिन ना celebrate करने के लिए cycling.
Every Sunday.
Yeah, they just come out and cycle. So with that being said, उधर भी community driven था. It's like a few people gathered and they're like हमने ना cycling करनी है, and
This
eventually
is really important.
that
एक
community.
awareness create करना amongst the people so they themselves partake in this and then साथ साथ hold their government accountable. And जब government introduce करने की कोशिश करे ऐसी policies, usually the reason why a lot of policies fail is because there is backlash from the people and people do not adhere to it. लेकिन अगर social awareness हो and participation हो from the public, then whatever policies they will try to introduce will eventually try to be successful. And the break-ins that we talked about, we mentioned, is अच्छा जब हम बात करते हैं लाहौर की एयर पोल्यूशन की तो हमारे दिमाग में आता है कि अच्छा फार्मर्स की गलती है या ना लाइक ब्रेक-इन्स की गलती है या ना मौसम की गलती है या इंडिया की गलती है. लाइक first of all, your biggest issue is transport, और हम बात करेंगे how we can deal with that. Secondly, when we talk about break-ins, actually recently, कुछ साल पहले, 2-3 साल पहले या 4-5 साल पहले, the government actually introduced an initiative where they tried to use the current break-ins and transform it into something called zigzag break-ins, which were a way of using the coal वगैरह much more efficiently to produce fuel more efficiently, produce energy more efficiently. तो उससे coal basically कम use हो रहा था. And the government was actually pretty successful in implementing it. I think zyadatar break-ins were converted into zigzag wale. So even though it's still bad, we should not have coal break-ins. Like there was a successful initiative and it was actually like applauded by the UN or baki sare organizations. So your current break-ins, abhi just jidhar hum hain, they will stay there. This is not something that we can immediately deal with. Or ye fine hote rehte hain, lekin this is not a long-term solution for now where we stand. So hamara main issue should be actually transport and the way we plan our urban cities. So I think iske बारे में बात करते हैं थोड़ी सी.
I just want to mention ये ईंटों के जो भट्टे हैं, I learned this word yesterday, brickkilns की उर्दू. इसमें जो सफा बात करिए about the zigzag technology, it has massive advantage for the owners as well. हमने जो
There's incentive to use it.
Yeah, it's like they're like हमारी हर रोज की जो इस्तेमाल होता है एनर्जी, उसमें 400 से 600 रुपए का फर्क पड़ता है क्योंकि हमें उतना कोल नहीं इस्तेमाल करना पड़ता. और जब वो when people realize that their technology, the upgradation has an advantage, जो उनको yes they did invest initially to change from traditional to zigzag, but उनको returns मिलते हैं. And it's the same thing with solar powered energy as well. अगर आप घरों पे देखें हर जगह solar panels होते हैं, there is an initial investment but eventually it pays off. So technological advancement is like, it's like a bet. When you like have a bet of sort of पैसे इस्तेमाल करो and initially and then you see the benefits later on जब आपको थोड़ा फायदा मिलता है. So that's what I wanted to add it about brick plants.
Definitely, because whenever you introduce such policies, people should be able to see how it's benefiting them.
Yeah. So uske baad now we need to move on towards how urban planning is the way forward and how urban planning is the way जिसके हम through ये सारा जो situation इसको handle करेंगे. And if we have proper urban planning and a strategy in order to counter smog and air pollution, तो हमें जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी कि ये हम 3 दिन कह दें कि ओ आज AQI बहुत खराब है,
छुट्टी है, घर रह बैठो, parks में भी ना चलो, just stay at home.
हाँ, तो वो ये situation, and it's a bit funny. लोग because people don't really know, they're like छुट्टी हो गई है, घर बैठेंगे, इंशाल्लाह कल AQI ठीक हो जाएगा. It's not that simple. It's not like पूरा लाहौर घर पे बैठ जाएगा तो कल AQI 400 के बजाय 40 पे निकल आएगा. लोगों में अवेयरनेस ही बहुत जरूरी है. And it does play a thing because लंदन में जब मैं था तो एक दिन AQI was 25 and protest शुरू हो गए थे कि it's getting out of hand. And मैं तो सोचा था यार इतनी
25?
Yeah, and I was like, इतनी खालिश हवा है.
Oh.
So it happened, and
Imagine a Lahori in London seeing all of this. 25 के लोग निकल के protest कर रहे हैं. You must have been like, what is going on?
हाँ, I was like, यार ये जीवन में है 25 है, but I asked them and they're like 25 है, but अगर हम एक्शन नहीं लेंगे तो ये 25 से 50, 50 से एक दिन 100 हो जाएगी। एंड आई लाइक हाँ भाई आपकी बात में सेंस है, मैं जानता हूँ। इवन बीजिंग राइट नाउ हैज 29 AQI, और बीजिंग एक टाइम पे इतना वो पोल्यूटेड था, और हमने
It
मेंशन
was
किया
one
था।
of the worst.
सो जैसे हमने पहले बताया कि burning of waste is also a big contributor of these gases and carbon emissions. So basically if we have proper urban planning we can actually figure out कि कहाँ पे कूड़े को जलाया जाता है, and we need to have a proper planning for the slums that are existing in Lahore. And when we have a clear idea कि slums में क्या हो रहा है, regularization क्या है होनी है, that's when we can take action, because हमें बहुत जगह पता होता है कि ये कूड़ा जलता है लेकिन no one takes action anyway. और उसके साथ साथ जैसे हमने पहले मेंशन किया, लाहौर has a good road infrastructure, it has way too many cars, but there's a
Not
need
very
to
good infrastructure.
increase trees and a plantation cover.
Yeah, first of all, we need like the people need to start telling the government कि यार stop building so many roads. पहली तो बात ये है. Before one does anything else, जो भी roads अभी हमारे पास हैं, there are more than enough. And actually, this is urban planning 101. Okay, if you increase roads, you will increase traffic. This is one of the first things you learn when you deal with urban
And it
planning.
sounds weird, but it's actually true. It's
It is true.
actually
This
true.
has been consistently shown in research कि आप roads बढ़ाओगे तो आपकी गाड़ियां ज्यादा निकलेंगी, आपका traffic ज्यादा बढ़ेगा, and you are actually creating more complex traffic. And this is one of the reasons why smart city initiatives जो China और बाकी पूरी दुनिया में हो रहे हैं, why they're so important. So traffic is going to get more complex. एक तो हमने we need to stop making so many roads, first of all. Secondly, we need to start थोड़ा सा moving towards smart city initiatives that monitors the traffic in a way कि वो जो idle emissions नहीं होते when cars are in traffic, their congestion की वजह से आपकी emissions ज़्यादा बढ़ती हैं, but when you have a smart traffic flow आपकी emissions कम होंगी. So you need AI. This is just the future. This is not something crazy बाकी पूरी दुनिया कर रही है. Thirdly, you need जो आपके पास current जो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट है, यू नीड टू ऑप्टिमाइज दैट, जैसे हमने बात की थी. फीडर रूट्स आप इंक्लूड करें, मल्टी मोडल मोड्स ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्ट आप दिखाएं, विच इंक्लूड्स कि आप साइकिलिंग लेन इंट्रोड्यूस करें, वॉकिंग के लिए like sidewalks, things like this. You have to make the city more pedestrian, more people friendly rather than car friendly.
हमारी कार पे डिपेंडेंस इतनी ज्यादा है कि हमने कहीं बिल्कुल पास भी जाना होता है ना, वी कैन नॉट वॉक ओवर देयर बिकॉज वी नो.
You cannot walk over there. Someone who wants to cycle doesn't have the option to cycle.
Yeah, it's like you're risking your life, cycling with cars and other vehicles on the road. तो हमारे पास वो डिपेंडेंसी ऑन कार्स इज वे टू मच, और वी नीड टू रियलाइज कि जब तक ये नहीं कम होगी तब तक हमारी कार्बन एमिशंस कम नहीं होंगी. We do praise the government for initiatives such as उन्होंने जो ग्रीन जो इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स के ऊपर उन्होंने इनिशिएटिव्स दिए हैं, सोलर पैनल्स पे उन्होंने सब्सिडीज दी थी. We do appreciate them for those steps because solar powered energy is a way better alternative to coal power one, and it's sustainable as well. और दुनिया भर में इस चीज के बारे में चलता है. However, we need more action than simply the government. हम इंतजार करेंगे गवर्नमेंट कुछ करेगी तो हम उसका फायदा उठाएंगे. And there's this obsession कि ये अंडरपास बनेगा, रोड बनेगी तो इसके अगेंस्ट वोट देंगे. And Imran Khan did a very good job with the brilliant tree tsunami. Pakistan needs trees, Pakistan needs vegetative cover as well. However, at the same time, there are other projects that actually are, contrary and opposite to what he
Victory to
wanted
those
to
policies.
achieve. To with the brilliant tree tsunami, जिस तरह उन्होंने Ravi city वाला किया था. So Ravi city, when you're building a city next to Ravi, it has severe risk of damaging the environmental and ecological system over there. और हमें realize करना पड़ेगा कि climate change is also a very real thing. So we need to plan accordingly जिससे हमारी climate भी sustain हो, हमारी development भी sustain हो. It's about finding the right balance between development and being safe for the environment. And every country out there went through the same process, or it's not like it's out of control. हम अगर चाहेंगे with the proper steps, we will bring it down. It's just about setting the right priorities. क्या हम इसको इतना importance देते हैं कि हम इस पे invest करें, you know? And there's another problem.
And again, there are several case studies across the world, several mega cities. और हम ये भी नहीं बात करें cities that are way different to us. हम दिल्ली वगैरह को भी उठा लें. India में several cities are like taking the initiative, like introducing policies that will over time reduce air pollution. And Lahore में currently अभी वो policies plan भी नहीं हो रही. Implement तो दूर की बात है.
Yeah. So with that being said, it's just about finding the right balance and making it. और हमारे लोगों का obsession भी ये है, they prioritize, you know, infrastructure. They're like, इसने infrastructure बनाए, इसको vote देंगे. Yes, we need to have infrastructure as well, but we need to realize कि infrastructure के साथ साथ we need to work on other aspects of a country as well, जिसमें city में जिस तरह ये environmental constraint वगैरह है, because our health matters the most. It's about अगर आप शहर में सही तरह साफ हवा लेंगे, आप जिंदा रहेंगे, तभी फायदा है ना
This is the
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का.
most basic thing. If you
Yeah.
cannot breathe the air around you, there is something severely wrong, and it should infuriate all of us.
And I think it's, you know, with that being said, it's time to give our concluding notes and end this episode, unless Safa, you have anything else to say. So at the end
I
of it,
think we covered a lot.
at the end of it, we just want to say that having lockdowns is not a permanent solution for the problem. It's like casting a blind eye to the problems that are in front of us. अब ये नहीं है कि जब भी कुछ होगा हम लाहौर बंद कर देंगे, पंजाब बंद कर देंगे. It's also a very big it has big implications on our economical activities as well. जो हमने पहले
Holidays are not a solution, वो सही है, but also when we start fining the farmers and then we start, you know, banning these factories, या उनको भी heavy fines, like ठीक है, slightly makes sense, but actually there are other policies the government needs to be focusing on, and this is kind of like a knee-jerk reaction कि ओ अच्छा ये क्रॉप स्टबल बर्न हो रहा है, इनको बैन करो, इनको फाइन करो, ये फैक्ट्री ये करिए, इनको बैन करो, इनको फाइन करो. उनको सिर्फ इसी महीने ख्याल आता है, पहले पूरा साल वो इतना कुछ खास करते नहीं.
पता भी होता है कौन कर रहा होता है.
And this is a knee-jerk reaction. There are no long-term sustainable solutions that are coming forth from the government. So this is the basic like premise of what we're talking about. Okay, instead of these knee-jerk reactions, के holidays करा दें, कुछ और करा दें, you start focusing on what the other world is doing. Start making more people-friendly cities. Start using smart city initiatives, and especially focus on urban planning that is more eco-friendly.
Yeah. And I just want to say it's a bit funny in a bad way कि जब भी पता चलता है स्मॉग बढ़ गई, कमेटी बैठ गई है फैसला करने के लिए स्मॉग का क्या करना है, and you know they just come out there like छुट्टी करनी है.
Yeah, that's the main conclusion.
So on that note, I think it's time to say goodbye. I hope you all keep yourselves safe. बाहर ना जाएं, बाहर बहुत गंदी हवा है, toxic है. And on that
Government को बहुत सारी गालियां दें कि क्या हो रहा है.
गवर्नमेंट के साथ साथ उनको भी दें जो आपको पता है कि पोल्यूशन में कंट्रीब्यूट करें, बट दे स्टिल कैरी ऑन with their activities. So with that being said, it's time to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed our episode, and Allah Hafiz.